Welcome everyone. Today we will discuss what would have happened if the Tanzimat reforms were successful. Now, this is a part 3. The previous two videos have already built up the lore for this world, so there isn't much context to give. If you want to know the lore, then you have to watch the previous two videos. This video will be the final part to the Ottoman saga. This saga was really successful, so I will be starting another one sometime in April or May on what if Islam went east. The videos after this one will be normal alternate history scenarios, but without any further ado, let's start the continuation to this scenario. Last where we left off was in 1933. Four ultranationalist parties would dominate the four European countries of Italy, Germany, Greece, and Russia. One thing I forgot to mention in the previous video was that Italy still turns to fascism. Why, you may ask? They got everything they wanted, so why would they still go fascist? Well, Italy's pivot towards fascism was more or less caused by political instability and a horrible economy due to the First World War. Here, all of that would still be present, leading to Mussolini still coming to power, so Italy would still become fascist. Germany would still go ultranationalist like they did historically. The only change would be in the mindset of the German leadership. Due to the Ottomans defeating them in the First World War, the ultranationalists would put the Turkic peoples in the same category as the Slavs and would desire their destruction, while Russia would be regarded as an incompetent nation due to their performance in the First World War. The ultranationalists would use this as propaganda to show Slavic inferiority and German supremacy, so these are the few changes in Germany. For Greece, we would see the rise of the Greek ultranationalist party under the rule of Ioannis Metaxas, who was the president and dictator of Greece in our own timeline. The Greek ultranationalists would follow a more extreme version of Metaxism. This ideology would seek the fulfillment of the megali idea and the de-Turkification of Anatolia, while it would also regard minorities like Albanians as inferior and subhuman. It would be an authoritarian and monarchist ideology, with Metaxas soon declaring himself the dictator of Greece here too. Externally, Greece would have good relations with Germany and Russia, while there would be disagreements with Italy over the future of Albania. The megali idea would also coincide with the Mare Nostrum, so this would cause problems in Italo-Greek relations, but they'd be allies for now at least. Moving on to Russia, the All-Russia Fascist Party would come to power in Russia, with its leader Konstantin Rodzewski becoming the president of Russia. Konstantin would soon dismantle the already fragile democratic institutions of Russia and proclaim himself the Vozhd with full authority. His ideology would be similar to that of the ultranationalists in Germany. It would be based on anti-Semitism, with the Jewish population being blamed for Russia's defeat and embarrassment, while it would view the Turkic peoples as the ultimate enemy of the Slavs and would desire the destruction of the Ottoman Empire, the reclamation of Constantinople, and the freedom of the South Slavs. Russia would fully embrace Pan-Slavism with the goal of creating a giant Slavic superstate stretching from the Mediterranean to the Yellow Sea. The remaining minorities in Russia would be treated horribly and would have to wear armbands to show their rank in the new Russian society. Russia would also desire the Russification of the Caucasus and Central Asia, which would strain their relations with most of the world, forcing them to become reliant on the Germans, who wouldn't renounce their genocidal plans for Eastern Europe. Russia's economy here would be mostly agricultural due to the absence of Stalin's industrialization. Its main rivals would be the Ottomans and Japan, the latter of which would be due to the issue of Vladivostok and influence over China. So this would be the state of the four ultranationalist countries as we enter 1934. By this time, the Ottoman Empire would be led by Mustafa Kemal, who would be working hard to get the nation out of its economic recession, while managing the complicated web of alliances. So things would be relatively peaceful in the Ottoman Empire. Moving back to the rest of Europe, Britain and France would attempt to appease Germany and its allies. The Saarland would be given to Germany, and they would be allowed to remilitarize. In 1936, Germany would remilitarize the Rhineland, Italy would invade and annex Ethiopia, leading to them being kicked out of the League of Nations. Greece would continue its military buildup, while Russia increases its military presence in the east. Britain and France would get alarmed by all this, but would do virtually nothing. Japan would also invade China, but due to the presence of Russia, they would maintain good relations with the Allies, meaning they wouldn't eventually go south, which would make things extremely difficult for them in China. The Ottoman Empire would look at all these events, and Mustafa Kemal, just like in our own timeline, would realize that war is on the horizon and would start militarizing the Ottoman Empire to prepare them for the Second Great War. In 1937, the Spanish Civil War starts, where the nationalists would receive aid from Germany and its allies, resulting in their victory. During this time in the Ottoman Empire, Sultan Umar I meets his end. He is succeeded by his son Mahmud, who takes the throne as Sultan Mahmud III. He was much more open-minded than his predecessors, and he allowed Mustafa Kemal to continue with his reforms, although the two would occasionally butt heads, but nothing really happened, so the empire continued as normal. As 1938 approaches, Mustafa Kemal meets his end. Before his death, he is granted the honorific title Ataturk by Sultan Mahmud III as a sign of respect for the great statesman. Before his death, he addresses the Ottoman people in a now famous speech. While this very well may mark the end of my life, on the 639th anniversary of our great empire, you should not lament. Leadership can be earned only through hard work, and in my view, you are all future leaders. I ask only this of you, keep fighting the noblest of fights. His funeral would be attended by the Sultan and various foreign dignitaries to pay respect to the great reformer. Soon the elections take place, where the Pt.3 managed to win. They start focusing more on minority rights and domestic affairs, neglecting the geopolitical area, where various events soon take place. At the start of the year, Germany annexes Austria in the Anschluss, while Russia annexes Belarus in an idea known as the Great Reunification. Despite this being a clear violation of international law, the Allies still do nothing, which further emboldens the ultranationalist dictators. Germany, Greece, Italy, and France soon sign an official alliance known as the Pact of Steel. As the year ends, Germany demands a Sudetenland from Czechoslovakia, due to which the Munich Conference is held. In the end, Germany gains the Sudetenland, but they still invade Czechoslovakia. Russia at the same time declares war on Finland, which they eventually lose due to their incompetence. The Russian military incompetence is placed on full display due to their defeat, and Germany starts planning a future invasion of their supposed ally. As we enter 1939, the Germans demand Danzig from Poland. The Allies refuse, and soon Germany declares war on Poland. At the same time, Russia invades from the east, and the two carve up Poland. Germany then shifts its focus west, and things go here like they did in our timeline. In the east, Russia annexes the Baltic states, and after a grueling war, manages to take Ukraine. In the west, the Germans start bombing the British Isles, but things go historically here. By late 1940, a border conflict occurs between the Ottomans and Italians in Libya. Italy uses this as a pretense to declare war on the Ottomans, dragging them into the war. This, however, turns out to be a mistake, as the Ottomans push the Italians out of most of Tunis. This forces Germany to help them. Around this time, Greece and Russia also declare war on the Ottomans. Hungary also joins the Axis out of promises of getting Transylvania and Vojvodina. Now, if you paid attention in the last video, the Ottomans gave autonomy to their Christian minorities. Georgia, Armenia, Bulgaria, Serbia, and Romania had their own governments, flags, and even currency. They were only united with the rest of the empire on the basis of economy, foreign policy, and having the same monarch. Some of these states used this autonomy for their own plans. Romania would make a deal with Germany that they would help them, but they demanded that they suffer minimal territorial losses. Germany would agree to this. Serbia and Bulgaria soon reach out to Russia and Germany, swearing their allegiance to the Axis in exchange for their independence and possible expansion. Soon, Operation Stormfire is set into motion, the invasion of the Ottoman Empire. First, Greece and Russia start their invasions. Russia performs horribly in the Caucasus and Crimea, while Greece manages to reach the outskirts of Thessaloniki. The Ottomans easily manage to hold out, but soon things change, as Germany and Hungary soon join the invasion. Hungarians get pushed back, while the Ottomans also invade Dalmatia and Croatia. Soon, the entire Axis military barrels down into the Balkans. The Russians, now with German help, manage to take Crimea and start pushing into the Caucasus. Greece takes Thessalonica and starts pushing into Thrace. Bulgaria, Serbia, and Romania declare their independence and join the Axis invasion. Italy and Croatia, with German help, take Bosnia and land in Albania. The British do send troops to aid the Ottomans, but it would be insufficient. Soon they get pushed out of the Balkans. Constantinople soon falls, and the Ottoman royal family is executed. Sultan Murad III is captured by the Germans, while the Ottoman government flees to Anatolia. Ankara is made a temporary capital due to its strategic location. The PEDA, due to all their failures, are removed from power and an interim government under Ismet Inonu is formed. Some, like Recep Peker, do attempt to sign a peace treaty with the Axis, but Inonu decides not not to sign a peace treaty. Inonu, being a disciple of Ataturk, held his beliefs, and addressing the remaining populace in a speech, he said, "We shall remain in this war. We shall not be the sheep who hides and flees like a coward. We shall be the wolf who hunts his prey and does not stop till he gets his revenge." By late 1941, the Greeks land in Anatolia and the Ottomans manage to hold them off while Russia reaches Azerbaijan. During this time, Germany executes Operation Barbarossa. The Germans and their allies turn on Russia and declare war on them. This allows the Ottomans to retake Dagestan and Chechnya while Russia struggles to hold off the German advance. By mid-1942, Moscow falls as the Russians retreat to Kazan. Novodzevsky and the All-Russia Fascist Party are overthrown as a pro-Allied government continues the war and switches sides. Things look dire, and here everything depends on if the US joins or not. Here we will explore two paths, one in which the US intervenes and the other in which they do not. The first path, the US looks at all these events with great worry. Roosevelt would be incredibly sympathetic to the Allies, but Congress and the American populace would refuse to enter the war. This leaves the three Allied nations alone against the Axis. By early 1943, the Axis reach Kazan as Russia collapses into anarchy. Japan sets up a puppet government in Siberia and uses its natural resources to continue their war in China. Lebensraum is implemented in the conquered lands as the Germans start a genocide of their conquered peoples. Germany then sends its forces south into the Caucasus, where they manage to take Baku. Armenia and Georgia, seeing the writing on the wall, switch sides in hopes that the Germans would spare them. During this time, the Italians would reach Tripoli, as Rommel and the African Corps sweep through the rest of Libya. The Germans and the Greeks continue their offense, with Iran soon joining them to retake Iranian Azerbaijan from the crumbling empire. By late 1944, Ankara is captured by the Greco-German armies while Italy takes Alexandria. The Iranians manage to take Baghdad, and the Arabs in Hijaz launch a rebellion. Under the weight of all this pressure, the Ottomans collapse by 1945. Germany and the Axis then shift their attention back to Britain and start preparing for Operation Sea Lion. By late 1947, the Germans manage to land a large force of 3 million soldiers into the Isles and capture London. The British soon surrender as the world map is redrawn to the Axis wishes. In Europe, Germany annexes their desired territory while creating puppet governments in France, Belgium, the Netherlands, Serbia, and Bulgaria. The territory of the former Russian state is divided into Reichskommissariats, which would get depopulated and then repopulated with Germany committing the largest genocide in human history. Italy would receive their desired lands. Croatia is expanded into Bosnia, while Italy annexes Libya, Montenegro, and Albania. Egypt, Palestine, and Syria are turned into Italian protectorates. Romania remains independent but soon comes into conflict with Hungary over the issue of Transylvania. Greece sees expansion into the Aegean Islands, Crete, Cyprus, southern Epirus, Macedonia, Thrace, and the Anatolian coast. Constantinople was temporarily occupied by the Germans but is soon given to Greece, which they turn into their new capital. The Turkish population is expelled to central Anatolia, where they get genocided and replaced with Greeks, with the goal of reintegrating Anatolia into Greece proper by 1960. Iran, for their help, received Kurdistan and Iraq, while Azerbaijan is split between them and the Germans. In Africa, Germany achieves a large African colony, while Italy takes the Horn of Africa. The war ends, and soon a new Cold War begins between the United States of America and the German Reich. Now we move on to the second path, where the US does intervene. For this, we need to head to November 1942. The American ship, the USS Liberty, was patrolling the Atlantic Ocean when suddenly a German submarine, mistaking it for a British warship, shot it down. The entire crew would perish. This would cause outrage back home. The funny mustache man, believing that war was inevitable, preemptively declared war on the US. America joined the war on the side of the Allies. The Americans, with British and Ottoman help, execute Operation Torch as the Axis are squeezed out of Africa. Soon Britain lands in southern Italy while the US lands in Normandy, liberating France. By late 1944, Russia falls and the Germans move their forces west, allowing the Ottomans to move up in the Caucasus. Soon Georgia and Armenia are promised their independence by the Ottomans in exchange for sending their entire armies to the Caucasus, which they accept. The Ottomans then shift their entire focus west and kick Greece out of Anatolia. They then do a naval invasion of Constantinople and liberate the old capital. Greece, realizing the war is lost, surrenders to avoid a harsh peace deal. Serbia and Bulgaria soon switch sides alongside Romania. They proceed to take out Hungary and Croatia. Germany, on the other hand, would have to now fight a war on four fronts. By late 1946, the German cities of Hamburg and Dresden would be nuked by the Allies, and the Allies would push further into the German heartland. Seeing the writing on the wall, the Wehrmacht executes Operation Valkyrie. The funny mustache man is removed from power and executed. The Wehrmacht takes over and attempts to sign a peace deal with the Allies, which would fail. By mid-1947, the Allies would reach Berlin as Germany capitulates. The peace deal would soon be signed. In the west, France would annex the Saarland, while Germany is divided into 6 states, those being the Kingdom of Prussia, Kingdom of Saxony, Hanover, Bavaria, Baden-Württemberg, and the Rhenish Republic. In the east, Poland, Ukraine, Belarus, and the Baltic states would be restored, with Ukraine gaining border regions from Russia. Russia would be forced to give Kazakhstan its independence, but the rest of Russia would become a democratic republic. Italy would lose Dalmatia, Croatia, and Tunisia. The Balkans would be rearranged. Hungary would be given its pre-war borders, while Romania is given its independence. Bulgaria is expanded into a large part of the Balkans and becomes the new line of the Balkans. Serbia, Croatia, and other South Slavic lands unite to form Yugoslavia. Albania doesn't receive its independence, but instead becomes an autonomous republic inside of Yugoslavia. The Ottomans would rebrand as the Turkish Sultanate, but following the death of Mahmud III, they would become the Turkish Republic. The war ends, and the US stands as a sole superpower, with the colonial powers of Britain, France, and the Ottomans being reduced in power. Now, we could continue this scenario, but this is where I'll end it. Thank you all for going with me on this 3-part journey. If you liked the video, please subscribe and share your thoughts in the comments down below. But for now, this was Alternate History Chronicles, and see you in the next one. Goodbye.